speaker is Dan Medlin. He is a global talent acquisition partner with Star HR is your own company, right?
Right, and I'm also consulting through Proactive Talent.
Okay. So Star is his company, Star HR is his own company, and he's also consulting through a company called Proactive Talent. The topic is robots are recruiting us. What should we do? Is this really true? He is a senior technical acquisition leader with over 30 years building return on investment in people. He has led and built recruitment programs in companies ranging from 75 to 300,000 employees, managing global teams from 3 to 30 at prominent recruitment agencies like Robert Half International and corporations like GE, Samsung, and AMD. He founded and leads Star HR, an executive recruiting and talent acquisition consulting firm based in Austin, Texas. Star HR specializes in bringing in great talent for high-tech companies locally and globally. He is also a lead consultant with Proactive Talent, a firm that provides expertise in employer branding, recruitment optimization, and on-demand recruiting. He first published the Star Career Workbook in 2010 and updated the most recent volume in 2019. Leveraging his experience in career counseling at Texas State University and outplacement at Lee Hecht Harrison, the Star Career Workbook is a cost-effective alternative to expensive outplacement and job search assistance programs. The Star Career Workbook is available on Amazon, and please, if you buy it, please use smile.amazon.com for Launchpad Job Club, he says. If wishing to purchase at a discount, he will have copies of the book available for sale this Friday, today, for $15. But back to Dan and his presentation. The robots are recruiting us. Dan Medlin.
Thank you. Robots are recruiting us. Robots are recruiting us. Are you scared? No. No, not really. Because it's really just kind of. I mean, AI, as they call it, I mean, that's what they're calling it. AI is prevalent throughout the recruiting process. We're using automation, really, is what we're using, to curate email addresses and market our jobs. We're using tools on Facebook and LinkedIn to get our jobs in front of targeted candidates. We're scraping email addresses and using automation tools to find that across the web to send messages to direct candidates that we're interested in. And the reason we're doing that is because it's pretty darn easy to apply for jobs, right? You know this. But what is the job application process? It's a big black hole, okay? Right? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how you move through that big black hole and how you kind of work with some of the automation that's happening throughout the recruitment process. I'm also here to tell you that there's still a lot of human touch, believe it or not, and especially as you get further in the recruiting process. And I want you to survive those touches as well, and the various integration, if you will, the cyborgization of the hiring process that's happening right now, because you're going to find some different automation and some technology that's built into the recruiting process, and you need to know how to navigate that appropriately. So that's what I'm here to deliver to you. Are you excited?
Yes.
Is that going to be helpful?
Yes.
I hope so. I hope so, really. Now, I'm going to save questions to the end, because that's really going to be more helpful. But I'm going to move quickly through the content so that we can have plenty of time for questions. And I think I have about 3 hours with you. So there's lots of time for questions. I mean, my content's only 2.5 hours. So that'll give you plenty of time. Okay, so AI. Can we just pause for a second and define what that really is? Do you know? Engineers in the room? Okay, all right. So AI, what is it? All right. Now, so the way we think about it and what people are using the term is just a catch-all for anything that automates a process that humans used to do. That's not really AI. okay? Think about it. Artificial intelligence. What is intelligence? Intelligence is thinking, processing, and reasoning, right? So is the software really thinking and processing and reasoning? No, not really, not really. But there is some artificial intelligence that's being built into some of the recruiting processes and platforms, and it takes really good, smart programmers to build that in. The problem is that those smart programmers could be potentially biased about, you know, who they really want to consider or what they think are the yeses and nos in this process, and you've got to learn how to navigate through that, okay? So we're going to talk about that. Now, most AI, if you will, that's in recruiting systems today is really just simply a program that is automating a process that humans used to do to make things faster so that they can handle a larger volume of candidates, okay? What I want you to do is to be the one candidate that really gets recognized and really gets looked at. Okay, so let's talk about the various phases in the recruitment process where automation is occurring. So in the advertising process, as we, companies, are posting our jobs, what we're using on our applicant tracking system are usually automation tools that take our job descriptions and automatically post them out to all of the different websites that we want to advertise on. If we're tech companies, then we're going to advertise on sites that gravitate toward tech candidates and so forth, right? For healthcare, medical, then they're going to advertise on those kinds of locations. If we're more white collar, you're going to find us more on LinkedIn. If we're more techie, you're going to find us more on Dice and maybe Indeed and maybe, you know, other places like that. But we're using these automated tools to get those ads out. The other thing that we're using is we're using different kinds of campaign management tools which actually send targeted job ads to specific people, either through your Indeed account. You're getting, like, I don't know if you've noticed this, but if you log on to your LinkedIn page, you'll get a different ad than I get when I log on to my LinkedIn page. Why is that? That's AI, buddy. That is AI, right? It's saying, I've learned a lot about you. I've learned what your background is, what data you've put into this system, and so I'm going to feed you content in that area. Are they tracking you? Probably. They're gathering data on you. They want to know aggregate data about everybody that's in their site so that they can feed that to their clients. So yeah, they're doing a little bit of that too. But really what they want to get you to do is spend some money, right? Right. So a lot of those are actual ads to get you to spend some money. But a lot of those are job ads, right? So how accurate is your information on your LinkedIn profile, and is the information on your LinkedIn profile going to feed to you the jobs you want to see? Is that a profound question? Is that a stumping kind of a question? Because I really want you to think about that. Are you putting things in your LinkedIn profile that aren't really relevant to your job search? Because if you are, you're going to get a waste of time of ads coming to you. Get focused. Get focused. All right, so I'm going to talk about what you do about this. That's what the how do I use this thing again piece is over here. But I want to talk about the social media tools that we're using. So companies are also using curated sites. Buffer is my favorite. My company has started using a tool called Everyone Social. If you're in marketing or advertising, I encourage you to check these out. These tools, we can load in all of our social media posts, and then it spreads them out, posts them out across all of the different social media sites that we use: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc., Instagram, etc. So it's kind of one portal, and then everything is posted out. What do you need to know about that? The main thing is that You got to be online. You got to be out there watching for this content. Okay, you don't necessarily need to go to everyone's social or buffer unless you're in marketing and advertising, and then you might want to use these tools. But you need to know that that content's coming out there, and we're curating it through some of these different tools. The other thing that's happening in advertising is that employees are being encouraged more and more to social share jobs, right? And so some of that's built in automatically into a company's applicant tracking system, and employees can go in on the back end, and they might get a perk, they might get a Starbucks gift card, or they might get, you know, a referral bonus or something like that if they share jobs out on their social media feeds, which then attract a candidate that can be hired to the company. So what does that tell you? Network, absolutely, thank you so much, right? The more connected you are to more people at the companies where you want to work, the more you will get shared the jobs that are opening at those companies, because the employees are sharing them. Got it? Easy trick, easy trick. Okay, so what do? Get online, and I don't just mean, you know, have a web, you know how to get onto the web. I'm talking about be there, have a well curated presence across all your social media channels. And that profile, I encourage you to have a consistent profile across all of your social media channels. That may be different from what you might have heard from other counselors. What I'm saying is that when I was job searching, my photograph that I used on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter was all the same. Same photograph, all the way across. Same headshot, professional headshot. My introduction was the same on every social media channel. I made sure that all of my social media channels had the same documentation of my job history. Even my Facebook page, I was straight-laced on my Facebook page the whole time I was in job search mode, right? If you've got content out there on Facebook that could be potentially embarrassing, get it off, clean it off, right? Think about, you know, like I'm about to go through a lawsuit, so I need to clean out my Facebook page, right? I mean, really get serious about that. Are you connected to people on Facebook that are going to share things with you that other people could stumble across and would be embarrassing to you? All right, clean up your friends. Clean up your friends. Okay, I had to do that more than once. I could tell you some stories, but I'd go down a rabbit hole. Follow your target companies. You can now follow companies on Facebook as well as LinkedIn. You can follow, I think you can follow companies on Indeed as well. You can kind of tag the companies that you want to see jobs from. But make sure that you're tagging them, because companies can see who's following them. Can't. Am I getting too much feedback on you, Paul? Okay, all right. So, especially if you're going after more of a senior role or a sales and marketing role, but not necessarily, could be just a project management role, but you apply for the role or you get referred in for the role, and recruiter immediately goes out, finds your social media profile, looks at your LinkedIn, and checks whether or not you're following their company. And then recruiter walks down the hall and says, I don't know why you referred this person, they're not even following us. Okay? So, follow your target companies. It's not hard to do. Stay connected to your network, keep your profile updated, and make sure that your network is consistently knowing, I'm still looking, this is what I'm looking for, message hasn't changed. You know, be persistent about that. Track your clicks and applications. And so this is the last piece that I'll mention about advertising, is that, you know, obviously you are, you're networking, you're trying to get referred into a lot of different companies. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. but you're also applying for a lot of jobs. And if you're drawing an unemployment right now, you've got a certain number of jobs you need to apply to each week and all of that stuff. But the worst thing that can happen for you is you finally get a call from a recruiter and the recruiter says, so how did you find us? And you go, yeah, I don't even remember applying to this job. Okay? Instead, what you want to do is you say, hold on a second, I'll tell you. You pull up your little tracking spreadsheet, you find the link. I found you on Indeed. Oh, that's great, because they want to know is that where their advertising dollars are being best used. And if you give them that helpful information, that makes you just that much more valuable as a candidate to them. So track your applications. There's a lot of other reasons for that as well, just like, you know, oh, I forgot I applied for that job. I haven't followed up with that company in a while. Let's go back and, you know, do some reminders to myself to follow up with companies that I'm most interested in. So track your application. Okay. Now, the next phase of the recruiting process we call sourcing. Anybody know what we mean by sourcing in recruiting? Yes. And if you're in, anybody here in procurement, accounting, procurement? Okay. Sourcing means something different to folks in procurement, but we kind of stole that term. But really what it is it's the search process. We're searching and we're finding pools of potential candidates that we can target for job opportunities. Again, we're doing this because there are just a plethora of potential applicants coming in, and many of those applicants, unfortunately, are not meeting the qualifications of the company, and so we've got to go directly out and find targeted qualified candidates, and we're using smart sourcing tools to do this. So I use a few different tools. ZapInfo is one of my favorite. I can go in, I can find your page on LinkedIn, I can upload you into ZapInfo, and I can run an enhanced feature which then goes out and finds your Facebook profile, your Instagram profile, and possibly finds your work email address and maybe finds your personal email address just by doing its little magic, okay? And what it's doing is it's going out across the internet and it's finding all known information about you, and it's curating all of that together and saying, here's what we know about John, because he's got a Facebook page, a LinkedIn page, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and all that information is synchronized and it's consistent. So this is definitely the guy you're looking for, and here's all the information that he's put publicly out there on that page. What does that tell you you need to do? Have a consistent profile across all of your social media channels and get as much information out there about yourself as you can. Because the more information I can find about you, the quicker I can call you and say, I got a good job for you. Okay? Got it. Now, I've kind of talked about search tools and social media there. In the application process, we're using a lot of times a thing called a front-end CRM. So we stole that term from sales folks. And so we're using essentially we call them talent communities. And if you track recruiters, you'll hear us talking about, oh, how's your talent community? And should we use talent communities? You're like, what the heck is a talent community? It's a CRM on the front end. And yes. What is a CRM? Oh, a customer relationship management system, CRM tool. And so it's just going to be a front end to the applicant tracking system where, and you've probably seen this before, you go to a company's site and you look through the job listings that they have opening, and you don't see one that matches exactly what you're looking for, and you're hesitant to apply for a job that you're not a great match for. Good thinking. And over on the right side of the page you see, don't see what you're looking for? Join our talent community. Click here. And when you join their talent community, typically all they're asking for is email address, basic contact information. maybe a LinkedIn URL. Anything that you can give them that information. So join those talent communities. Now you're going to probably just do this to your target companies, maybe 10, 20 different companies that you know you really want to go after. You want to make sure that you go out and see if they have a CRM or a talent community on the front end of their applicant tracking system and join that system. You used to see this about 10 years ago, and what it was is it would be called a job agent. And that was you would go and you would apply for a job, you would upload your resume, and then you would click a tool that would say, notify me if any jobs are opened that match my credentials, okay? And that was a good system, and there's still, a lot of companies are still using those today. But now more than ever, what we just want is, we want to know who's following us, who's interested in us, and how do we communicate to them. Because we're just as interested about having fans, having a great reputation, having a good employer brand, as we are about getting that next position filled. Okay? The other thing that we're using as recruiters is this little code called Boolean. It's not fancy, it's not C#, it's just a natural language string, fairly simple, but it helps us write search strings that we can then take and drop into just a raw Google page, or we can go in and we can drop it into LinkedIn, and we can find a closer match to the kind of people that we're looking for. And the more extensive and long and involved your search string is, the less people you're going to find. And if you're looking for a very targeted skill set, then that's what you're going to do. If you're looking for a fairly broad skill set, then you write a fairly simple Boolean string. Why do I tell you this? Because we've got these techniques to be able to search and find specific talent. But if you're not putting those key words and those terms and terminology in your resume and in your online profile, we're not going to find you. Okay? So we're going to talk a little bit more about what your resume may need to look like to make sure that we find you. And it's also important that your social media profile, especially your LinkedIn page, completely mirrors and matches what's in your resume. All of the key words that you're going to put in your resume need to be in your LinkedIn profile. Has anyone told you that yet? All of the key words that you're putting in your resume need to be on your LinkedIn profile. Should I say it again? Okay. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the resume screening process. So let's assume here at this point you've been found, or you've applied for a role that's a good match for you, and we're going to screen your resume. The first thing that you're thinking of is, I'm going to go into file 13 because the robot is not going to like me because I got a little gray hair on my beard, or something else like that, right? Robots don't know if you've got gray hair on your beard. They can't actually see you. They can pull up your picture, but they're not really looking at it. A human might look at it, and they'll be biased. If they're going to be biased, if they're going to discriminate, they're going to discriminate. But no robot can really do the resume screening completely. Here's a couple of things that are happening. One is that there's a lot of different software tools that we have on the front end of our applicant tracking system, so that when you apply to a job, one, you're asked a series of questions, basic data, your location, your salary requirements, your work eligibility. Those are the kind of the real basics. And then we're asking for, maybe core skills or other kind of data. We've learned as companies that the longer it takes you to complete our job application, the more likely you are to drop out and just say, this isn't worth my time, or I don't have time to complete this right now. And then you never come back to it again. So we're trying to streamline that job application process to where it's easier and easier. A lot of times what you're experiencing is that you just upload your resume, it parses basic information from your resume, pre-populates the application screen, and then you fill in the rest of the details. Okay? I could give you a lot of different tricks about that, but I think the main thing is that PDF resumes, while it's good to kind of protect the integrity of the content that's in your resume, it's harder for an upload system to read a PDF. Okay? So it might not grab your email address correctly. It might not grab your address correctly. So you're going to find yourself having to re-enter this data over and over again every time you apply to a job at a company because you're uploading a PDF resume. I don't blame you for wanting to have a PDF resume. I'm just telling you that's the struggle. Okay? So probably a Word or a doc is going to be a better process to get more of your applications in a quicker fashion and navigate through this applicant system. Now, in that initial screening where we've asked for some different core data, we may have what we call knockout questions. Different companies refer to these in different ways. Like, what's your salary requirement? That's a typical kind of knockout question. Or, do you have 5 or more years of experience in C# coding, right? It's like, well, that was in the job description, and so we're going to ask it again in the pre-screen. And you're like, why do you have to ask that? I mean, obviously, I wouldn't apply for this job if I didn't. Oh, yes, a lot of people would. Okay, so we have to kind of ask that question again. And even still, some people will say, yes, sure I do, but then they really don't. So, that's why the robot can't do it all. But those could be knockout questions. So here's the thing, is I just say, be a match, right? Don't spend a lot of time applying for a lot of jobs that you're not a pretty good match for. Now, I don't say, because I don't want to encourage you not to push and stretch, right? And if you've got a lead in a company or you've been referred to an opportunity and somebody says, apply for this role, I'm going to walk down the hall and talk to the VP, then apply for that role, okay? And you may look at it and you go, but I'm not qualified for that. Forget about it. That person's walking down the hall and talking to the VP. But what are you doing? You're calling them, did you go down the hall yet? Did you go down the hall yet? Would you please go down the hall now? I'll take questions at the end, okay? All right, thank you. All right, so, if you don't know the company and you don't have an inside edge to it, make sure that you're a pretty darn good match when you apply to these jobs. Because it's just going to be frustrating for you. You're going to get kicked out of the system over and over again because of some of these robots, okay? Now, but what happens next in the resume screening process? So the recruiter's going to pick up the resume first. Recruiter's going to look at the resume pretty darn quickly. The every resume gets piece is the same formula that I use every time, and many of my hiring managers use about the same formula. So you get about 7 seconds to capture my attention. Where do you capture my attention? In your executive summary or your introduction. So what do I need to see? Kind of, right? The basic qualifications, right? You got the education, you got the professional background, you've got the core technical or professional skills that I'm looking for. It's got to be there really quickly toward the top of the page. If I have to hunt for it, if I have to really, really search for it, and it takes me longer than 7 seconds, I might give up. I don't give up. I've been doing this way too long. But a lot of green recruiters will. And those are who are getting your resume first a lot of times. So grab their attention. Then you get about 1 minute for them to scan through your resume for the qualifications. You've grabbed their attention, and it's not, you haven't grabbed my attention because you've said, I'm a really great person who loves people, and people love me, right? You've grabbed my attention because you said, I am uniquely qualified for this position. I have a bachelor's degree in this, and I have 14 years of experience in that. That's how you've grabbed my attention. All right, so then I've got about 1 minute to go through your resume. I'm usually going to drop all the way down to the bottom of your resume and look for your education or your technical skills table. Immediately. I'm not going to look at your job history yet. I just want to make sure, okay, am I spending time on a good resume here? So I'm going to jump down to the bottom. If that's where you put it, if you put your education or your technical skills table at the top, that's perfectly fine as well. Most more experienced professionals have it down toward the bottom because you want to highlight your experience and the successes that you've had in your recent career. Perfect. And I've learned that, so where do I go? I go to the bottom and I look for your education. Okay, check, check, check. Now I'm going back up to the first page and I'm starting to go down in your chronological history. Reverse chronological order, most recent job first, and I'm reading down through those qualifications. Now, so I'm not going to go into too much more detail about what I'm looking for there because I'm just reading your resume and I'm looking for the qualifications of the role. If you've got you've passed through my 1 minute scan for basic qualifications, then I'm going to spend at least a couple more minutes, sometimes more, really reading through your job history. And what I'm looking for there is the successes that you've had. Have you been successful in a similar role to this one that I'm trying to fill? Have you done some of these kinds of things? Right? And not just duties I was responsible for, but I accomplished this, and I saved my company a significant amount of money by doing this, or I took this process that used to take 3 months and got it down to 3 weeks or 3 days. I want to see those kinds of successes, and when I see them baked in to your experiences and some of those different keywords kind of popping out at me in your job experience, then I'm going to forward that resume to the hiring manager. Guess what? Hiring manager doesn't trust me one bit. So he does the whole thing over again. And then he might pass it to somebody else who does the whole thing over again. Okay? And so you ask me, why does it take so long? Why does it take up to 10, 15 days to hear back from a company or to get the thanks but no thanks letter? Why does it take so long? We get a massive volume of applicants. We try to get through all of those. There's a lot of handoffs, as I've described to you. And guess what? Especially hiring managers, they have a day job, right? They have responsibilities. They're building a product, they're selling a product, they're managing people, whatever that case may be. So there's this catch-22 that happens in recruiting, and you guys know this. And if you've managed people and you've hired people, you know this. How hard is it to hire a lot of people? It's really hard because I need a lot of people. And there's so much work to do that I'm having to do it all until I can get these people hired, right? And so because of that, it's just going to take some time. The only thing I can tell you about that is be patient, right? And follow up, follow up, follow up. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Okay, I spent a little bit of time there. So again, some of the different things that I want you to do with your resume, please, 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 please. Good grammar, good spelling, and if you're in doubt, send it to somebody to have it checked out, okay?
All good writers have an editor.
Every good writer has an editor, okay? Good spelling, common acronyms. Acronyms can kill you, especially in tech roles, John, right? Engineers will use 3 different spellings for the same technical acronym.
Doesn't everybody know what SPM means?
SPM, SQL, and ASDM, you know, huh? CRM. There's a good one, yeah. All right. So try to use common acronyms, and of course, one trick to that is, you know, that you spell out the entire term, customer relationship management, and then in parentheses put CRM. I want to do both because the recruiter might search on just CRM, or the recruiter might search on customer relationship management. Okay. The other thing too is that go out and do some research on some of these different acronyms and see if they're used in different ways, and make sure that you use both or 3 of the different ways that it's used.
I would even recommend that you, or anything you're writing, get somebody who's non-technical. I know there's an English teacher, so she doesn't to go over it, but also get a technical person too. So 2 editors, one who understands the tech, but one, because your recruiter's not going to be technical like you. And if somebody non-technical is confused by it, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. Okay, and so the next item was around your introduction. We talked about how important that is. It's to grab my attention, but it's got to be really clear. Who am I and what do I want to do? If you're fuzzy about that, then spend some time in Launchpad Job Club getting that clear. Make sure you know who you are and what you want to go do.
It's an elevator pitch.
Yes, it's your elevator pitch. All right. Complete and accurate. Make sure that that resume is, and again, everything that I'm going to put on my resume is also going to be on my LinkedIn profile. Now, so do keywords work? The answer is yes. There are some qualifications for this. The first thing is, don't be like abundantly obvious, because I get resumes sometimes, and they make it through my robots, and then they get to my desk, and I see why they got to my desk, because at the bottom of the resume, they just put keywords, and then they just did this huge, big paragraph of keywords, right? Now, I'm going to think, well, did I see that in their job history? Was that evident in their introduction? Is there any evidence that they really have all of this? If I don't see it, one, I'm probably going to blacklist that candidate. Like, are you kidding me? You're gaming my system here? No. So work them into your jobs. If you've got a technical skills table and you're listing out all of the, here are all the software skills that I have, here are the program management tools that I've used, here are the office automation skills that I have, then put them in there in an organized fashion. Yeah, we want to see that. But also mention them again in your job experience. I used this tool, I used this system, or I used this process. If you're a program manager or an industrial engineer, you might use things like DMAC or Lean Six Sigma. You want to make sure that you say, I used Lean Six Sigma processes to help the company get from here to here, and we reduced the time that it took to do that. So you want to make sure that you mention all of those things and that you use those keywords in the context of your experience and your success. Make sure that those keywords are readable. So again, that big jumbled paragraph where it's all just in there together, it's just going to exhaust me to probably really read through that. Again, you'll make it through the robot, but you'll still probably get tossed out, because a human will have to touch your resume eventually. Okay, so think about it. If I send this to a person, what are they going to think about this document? Okay, all right, and then I think I've covered all of this. So I'm going to move forward. So I want to say though, wait, I'm not going to go there yet. So you peeked, right? Here's my thing. Okay, your resume doesn't work. John, I've told you this before. Your resume doesn't work.
Many occasions.
Your resume doesn't work. What do I mean? You do. You do the work, okay? So there are things that you can build into your resume that are going to make it more effective, but it's also where you're delivering it and how you're delivering it and how you're following up and how you're acting in this environment as a candidate that will really advance your candidacy and move you through the hiring process. So as far as your resume itself goes, make multiple customized versions of your resume. Now, so here's this dichotomy that I've already told you. I've said everything in your resume needs to be on your LinkedIn profile. And so if I've said, hey, I'm qualified in this, and this, but I'm also qualified in that, and that. And so you're telling me I probably need to make one resume that focuses in on this skill set, and I send that to employers that are looking for that skill set. And I'm going to make another resume that focuses on the other skill set. I'm going to send that resume to other employers. So then what do I do on my LinkedIn profile? It's a tricky, risky thing, right? Because, and I set it back up here, jack of all trades, master of none. We're looking for masters. So this is my encouragement to you. And different career counselors can tell you different things on this. Get focused. Know where you want to go. Make a choice. Make a choice on your path. And then get on that path, right? Be a master of your craft. Because if you're a master of your craft, God, you'll love what you do. I love what I do. Who loves what they do professionally? Okay? Not enough hands. Okay? If you're a master of your craft, you will love what you do. Okay? All right. So, jack of all trades is a master of none. Get focused. Now, so, again, you may have one or two really core critical skills. This gentleman here talked about that you might go and do a couple of different things. You've done telecom installations, and you can do all kinds of really crazy, cool things that none of us would know how to do. And you could go work for Verizon or AT&T and, go to the Sprint merger right now, and do some really incredible things. Rural network. Trying to give you some tips there. Texas Rural Network. Okay. All right, gotcha. All right, so, however, at the same time, you might leverage some of your skills in project management or people management, and you say, well, how do I focus in on that? So that's why I say multiple customized versions of your resume that you might send to different employers for different kinds of jobs. Be prepared to make unique versions of your resume for targeted employers. Certain kinds of employers have a different culture, they have a different language, they have a different vibe. It's okay to send them a resume that speaks a little bit differently and is channeled a little bit differently toward that kind of company. I can't go into a lot of examples here because there's way too many, but that's why you have the resume tweaking and resume writing workshops within Launchpad Job Club. So you go to the resume tweaking workshop and you say, I'm going after a job at Dell, how should my resume speak? Next week, I'm going after a job at Google, how should my resume speak? It's different, okay? And so it's okay to have customized versions for different employers. Your resume should be solutions focused, success focused. What have you done? What have you accomplished? How have you helped the companies that you've worked for? Now you get into where you're really doing the work, and that is the follow-up, 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 okay? Be relentless, folks. I tell candidates, especially when I'm headhunting on an executive role, I tell candidates, I'm not going to leave you alone. I'm probably going to be pinging you every couple of weeks. You're the perfect candidate for this role. So don't leave those employers alone. Don't just drop applications out there and not follow up with them. Make it worth your time. So follow up, follow up, follow up. How do you do that? You get connected to as many different people in that company, and you network around that company. The first thing you might do is apply for a job posting. That also might be the third or fifth thing you do. The first thing you might do is connect with 5 or 10 different people at that company. Just get networked with them, chat with them, share your profile with them, then apply for the role. Then you go back to that same group of 5 or 10 people and you say, hey, I saw this senior manager of marketing and sales and I've applied for it. Can you walk my resume down the hall? Now I've been connected to them for about 2 or 3 weeks and they go, yeah, sure, I could walk your resume down the hall. No harm, no foul. I can make a $500 bonus here at the company if you get hired, so why not? Okay, so that's how you do that follow-up and that networking. The other thing I want to make sure that you're clear on is that high-maintenance candidates will become high-maintenance employees. So you got to be balanced in this, right? So I tell you, be persistent and be consistent, but you're not desperate. You're not desperate. And you're not demanding, right? I got to have $250,000 or I'm not going to make a move. And you start setting non-starters like that, and guess what? You'll be a non-starter, okay? So be flexible, not hard to get, be persistent, be professional, but not desperate. We will have Q&A later. Okay. And a couple of other bonus material here, again from the STAR Career Workbook. This is my little secret science. It's not really a secret, but not enough people talk about it. But networking will always work. So if you are doing the work, then how do you do it? You're doing it through networking. I know that's not new to you, and you're talking about that through Launchpad a lot. But are you really doing it? Are you really, really doing it? So get out there. The employer with a job opening is a big black hole. You've got to be that person who crosses the line. Everybody else is out here. They don't know what's happening inside there. Once you cross over that line and you've got a contact A and a contact B who are sending your resume around or sending your name around, you'll get information about what's going on with the process, right? Otherwise, it's just going to be a big black hole that you're trying to navigate. So get your foot in the door through networking, get referrals into those companies. Don't stop applying. Don't stop working through the robot process, but network, network, network. Now, so I want to tell you a little bit about how to win the next stages of the process, and that is through the interview process. Because there's still some automation, and I still need to talk about some of the potential robots that you're going to face through the interview process. So the phone screen process, or today more video screens, and also pre-phone screen technical tests and different things like that that you might have to take, are becoming more and more automated, but the science is still the same. The 3 key things that you've got to build: chemistry, competence, and culture. Which of those do you think is the most important? Try not to look at the screen. Chemistry. Chemistry is the most important, especially once you've got a human contact and you can get on a phone or a video call with somebody. Chemistry is the most important piece of that. But if you have not established your competence, you probably will not still get through. And I say probably because we will hire for chemistry over competence. That is qualifications, okay? We will take somebody who's got a great chemistry match to our team and who we like, and we say, I could work with this person. I feel good sharing knowledge with this person. I feel confident that they'll have my back if we hire them into the company. We will hire that person over someone who might be more qualified. So chemistry is critical, and this is where you win the chemistry challenge. So a couple of the different things here. Know your resume, know what's in there, be prepared for that phone or video interview. Focus on your strengths and ask a lot of questions. Be engaging in the interview. I'm going to tell you quite a bit more about what you want to do in an interview in a moment. These are just some basics, but the don'ts are really, really, really important here. Okay? I give a whole presentation on this. Remember my Take This Job and Shove It presentation? Anybody was here for that back in the day? Okay. I sang the song, actually. I won't do that to you today. Do not badmouth your previous employer. And guess what? Recruiters will bait you to badmouth your previous employer. It's subconscious. It's this sick thing that we've got in our culture. I wish we'd get rid of it, of just kind of looking for the traffic accident, right? So why'd you leave your previous employer? It starts with that. It's a neutral question. They're always going to ask that, right? And so you give them the simple answer. You know, we had a riff, or, company funding ran out, and so I was let go. My department was downsized. Whatever the reason, keep it simple, keep it short. No bad mouthing. So how did that go for you? Well, it wasn't great, but I'm out here on the search, and I'm really interested in your role. Just turn that back in there. Don't complain. Don't complain about your previous boss. Don't complain about your situation. Don't complain about what's going on in the job market or how other recruiters have treated you. Don't complain. No whining, okay? Should we do the Tom Hanks? There's no whining in baseball. No crying, right? There's no crying in baseball. There's no whining, okay? No complaining, and no demands. Again, we talked about that before. All right, so there's a few different tech items that are being used in the phone and video process. Online pre-tests are pretty common, especially for technical roles, but they're becoming even common for sales. They're becoming common for management roles. So you might take a personality test for a management role. You might take a math test for a sales role. A lot of different things that we're using today. I mentioned a couple of tools that we use in the tech space. We use Interview Zen a lot. It's pretty easy to set up. HackerRank is pretty popular. But the bottom line is do your own work, okay? I know that sounds simple, like, well, of course I'm gonna do my own work. For a tech perspective, though, this comes up a lot, is that you would be shocked and amazed at how easy it is for an experienced software engineer to recognize when somebody has Googled their answers. You think there's no way they could pick that? Oh, they can tell. You know why? Because they do it all day in their job. They're Googling for code samples and answers, right? So do your own work. Now that's just from the tech perspective. Now, when you're taking a personality assessment, do your own work. Be you. Don't be someone else, okay? You might be you're going to think really hard. I wonder what they want me to say here. I wonder what kind of person they're looking for, and maybe that's the person I should be in this personality assessment. Be you. Do your own work. Now, in the video interview, we're using, common ones are Skype and Zoom. There are other like HireTool and HireView, which are online video interview platforms that we're using. Just don't be freaked out. just do it. Get prepared for it. Treat it like it's a face-to-face interview and be your best you. Be your best you. Get dressed like it's a professional interview. Make sure you check out the surroundings behind you. You got a good room, you got good lighting. Everything is primo, right? Put on a smile and be your best you in that video interview. All right, and in your on-site interviews, with as many different tools as we do have available to us, when we get to the on-site interview, it's very generally low tech. It's just getting to know you and understanding if you've got the qualifications for this role. Now, there are some different tools that we're using over here on the right side. I'm going to talk about that. But first, I'm going to mention some of the stuff over here on the left side. So the low-tech stuff. So you're going to experience either panel interviews or multiple one-on-one interviews, right? Been there, done that, okay? Now, so if you're going into panel interviews, you need to make sure that you have prepared multiple different success stories that you're prepared to tell that demonstrate your core expertise for the role that you're interviewing for. You've gone back through the job description, you've reviewed what they're looking for and what their requirements are, you've asked the recruiter, and potentially you've asked the hiring manager in the phone screen, hey, tell me what you're really looking for here. Now, I've read the job description. Is there anything I don't see here that you're also looking for? You've asked those kinds of questions to the recruiter and to the hiring manager in the phone screen, so that when you come on site, you're prepared to tell those success stories. Prepare multiple stories, because you're going to go around a panel and they're all sitting there in the room together, so you can't necessarily repeat the same story. I'm going to go.
Really easy way to do that. Do a elevator speech or success story for every bullet point or every job in your resume. Because they may ask you about those if you haven't prepped them. You may not be smooth. Why would you not have a success story for everything that's in your resume?
And you've gone through the Star Career Workbook,
Absolutely.
right? And John has gone through the Star Career Workbook, so he knows that in the Star Career Workbook, I give you a methodology for documenting all of your success stories. I call them your STAR stories. And there's a methodology for that using the STAR acronym. I'm going to actually show you that here in a minute. And in the Star Career Workbook, you're going to actually write them all out. You can do that on your own. You don't have to buy the book if you don't think that I know what I'm talking about. But you're spot on there. Make sure that you have multiple stories. The cool thing about if you go from a series of one-on-one interviews, or if you're kind of, and IBM was notorious for this, you'd be 7 hours at IBM and you'd meet with 14 different people across a 7-hour period, one-on-one. It was monotonous. But you know what happens when you meet with 7 different people or 14 different people? What? Oh, you do get contacts. Thank you for mentioning that. Absolutely. You get the business card from every one of them. But you get asked the same question over and over and over again. Here's my rule. If you're going to ask me the same question over and over again, I'm going to give you the same answer. Okay?
You may go compare notes.
That's right. And then guess what wins? Consistency. Okay? So it's okay. Now, whiteboarding. I just got to say this. I mean, it's not anything terribly new, but if during the interview your interviewer gets up from his chair and walks over to the whiteboard and picks up a marker and starts writing, what does that mean you should do? Get up from your chair and go over to the whiteboard and get prepared to pick up a marker. So I've had many candidates who just sit there in the chair and go, well, what I would do there and there and there and there. And my hiring manager goes, he didn't even get up. I mean, I gave him an open invitation.
Part of their culture, if you do it, they see you as a fit.
That's right. All right, so some of the technology that we're using in on-site interviews, you might be given an on-site computer-based test. It might have been something that they could have done online before you got there, and you kind of wonder, why didn't you just send me this online? Because I'm sure it's probably online. But it is fair for you to ask in advance if you're going to be given any computer-based testing while you're on site at the interview. It's also fair, especially in some specific cases, to say, well, I wasn't informed that I was going to be given this test. I'm not really prepared for that. You're kind of in a quandary there, because if you don't take the test, you're probably done in this opportunity, so you probably should do it. But that's negotiable, right? Tell them, I wasn't informed that I was going to be given an on-site computer-based test. I'm really not prepared for this. I remember we were bringing in translators at Samsung, and we had an on-site test that we were having them take. And the hiring managers weren't telling the candidates, when you come, we're going to give you a Korean language test. Because they assumed, well, if you're a translator, surely we're going to test you, right? Yes, but you still need to tell them that this is going to happen. And so we would have translators, come in and say, I didn't know that I was going to have to take a test today. And so it really messes with the candidate experience. Well, anyway, ask in advance and get prepared. Video interviews may be used in place of on-site interviews. And so in that case, make sure that you are, again, your best you. Are you giving me a signal? Is my nose running? Okay. I'm watching my audience here. Okay, so online pre-tests might occur again, and I've talked to you about that. Do your own work. Okay, and so last couple of bits here. Interviews are still with humans, at least for now. We don't actually have there's a YouTube video of a robot interviewing a person. It's kind of interesting, picking up facial expressions and things like that. But these are basic guidelines. This is straight out of the Star Career Workbook about how to be successful in that on-site interview. Nothing new. You've seen this before, right? I'm not going to read through all of this, but I would just say make sure that you're engaged in that on-site interview. More and more and more, the feedback that I get from hiring managers at my client companies is, well, I liked their qualifications and I liked their answer, but their energy just wasn't there for me. I just didn't get a feeling like they were really engaged. What in the world? Did I just send a dead fish into that interview? I had a great phone screen with this candidate. And I think something can happen, when you walk into that interview room. There's a sense of intimidation, there's a sense of, everything's on the line here, and I've got to be stoic, and I've got to hold all my cards. No. You got nothing to lose when you get in that interview room, and everything to gain. So put it all out there and on the line. Put all your energy into it.
Most of the hiring managers their mental attitude, they come to this another interview. And they're doing something and they have you wait and then whatever, and then it's like, okay, do your thing. But their energy that they bring to that is not good.
That's true.
And it's hard to pick that up.
Because I say mirror and match, and so if the interviewer is kind of dead in front of you, and you say, well, I guess I need to mirror and match this dead person in front of me. John is correct. The answer is actually no. You still need to be your best you. And you need to be on fire. You got to capture their attention. And sometimes interviewers are coming in saying, you know what, entertain me for 30 minutes, right? Okay, here we go. Here's your show. Let me tell you what I know. Okay? You got nothing to lose and everything to gain. All right. Last thing, my little secret science to my STAR methodology. When you're writing out your success stories and when you're telling these stories in your on-site interview, this is the methodology. You've seen the S, T, and the R. You've seen the S, T, A, R before. You've seen STAR, you've seen SAR, you've seen versions of this. What you haven't seen before is my T. Trials. Right? Trials. What challenge did you have to overcome? What problems were in front of you? How did you overcome those? Right? That kind of story grabs much more attention to anything else that you can tell. And that's what we're looking for. So when you're looking to infuse some energy into the conversation, you tell them how you overcame some significant difficulties. Careful, don't badmouth, don't complain, right? But this is what I accomplished. You know, I had a team of 3 people and we had to get 300 people hired. And we got it done in 3 months. You want to know how I did that? I would love to tell you how I did that. Okay? All right. That is primarily it for me. I've gone through, you know, kind of how you're working this system and how you're using some of the different technology and how you're surviving through some of that different technology. I'm open to Q&A, and I know there was a question back here, so we can start with that. Did you have something?
Sure. So back when you were talking about applying for jobs you're qualified for.
Yes.
So I'm looking for software jobs, and I have a LinkedIn profile that says that. So to spin it back though, I get a lot of recruiters, I guess, you know, there are good people on both sides and there are not so good people on both sides, but it seems to me like they're doing keyword search and, you know, then they send me the job description and it says 7 years of .NET experience, and I don't claim that, but they're pitching jobs to me that require this tremendous experience, so.
Right. Because they're bad recruiters. They're not running a good search. But the other thing, I'll give them a little bit of grace. I can find .NET on your profile because you've put it there, but I can't find whether you've got 7 years of experience on it. The code that the search tool won't really tell me that on LinkedIn. And so they're lazy in one sense, so I give them a little bit of grace because the tech only goes so far. That's why, you know, it's not truly AI yet. But what they should have done is looked at your profile before they sent you the opportunity.
And then to top it off, there are some recruiters that will say, hey, I'm interested in you, and then immediately call me. And if I'm in a meeting, I don't answer, so then they'll call me again.
Yes. And
And it's just downright annoying.
Yeah.
looking for a job?
But I'm in a meeting, I can't take the call.
Text them back. Text them back immediately. Can't take your call? Text me back and let me know what you're calling about. Okay, Kathy.
What if so you have a list of like your technical skills, and somebody's looking for, where did you do that in your work history, but you did it farther back, so you've only got the last 15 years, let's say, on your resume, you did that earlier. Should you go back a long time? Most people say you only go back 10 or 15
years
And
to
so,
prevent age bias.
Yes.
Yes.
So what if you got that qualifying experience longer ago?
Yes. So you do a section at the bottom of your resume that says, previous experience includes, and you do a quick capsulization of that, and you make sure that the skills that you want to bring forward into your current career opportunities are listed in there. But you don't put any dates or any time frames on it. Previous experience includes, and then you can put a little sentence on that, details provided on request.
We probably have time
Back
for
here.
1 or 2 more, and that's it.
Okay.
So I've applied to multiple companies. I'm gonna use colors. This company wants purple, this color wants Magellan, this, this one's violet. So there's shades of purple that they want. So I have LinkedIn profiles, I have Facebook profiles. How do I manage when I'm trying to apply, and each company wants their nuance of specialty within a generalist, within a LinkedIn profile, when, for me, I'm just having trouble fitting everything in there and then circling back around, oh, I've applied to this company, they're gonna go check, and I'm chasing, I feel like a dog chasing its tail, trying to keep up with LinkedIn and with Indeed, with my resumes, because every resume has to be specialized for them in order to get through the silly screen.
You can have a specialized resume, but you are who you are, and you get that onto your profile. And you just, like I said, be your best you, right? And because you're not, I know that everybody here is just saying, I just want to get a good job. But you also want to get a job that's going to have some staying power for you as well. So you want to go somewhere that's a good fit for you as much as you are a good fit for them. So the more you try to make yourself a fit for some of these companies, the less you really become you.
I think, if I can, the issue that I'm struggling with is I believe I have a vast amount of experience and I can do whatever any of these companies want me to do. I've done it, I've experienced it. So you want me to be purple, I can be purple. You want me to be violet, I can be violet, because I have tangible experience doing both of those in my career.
Sure.
But if I put purple over here and then and the violet guy comes and he looks at my resume, he's going to say, oh, he's doing purple stuff, he's not doing violet stuff. And you get it. And so is it, what I'm hearing from you is get as best public profiles as you can.
Yes.
And then specialize
Specialize your resume.
And it's okay that they're slightly off.
Yes, it's okay that different resumes look differently. One that I send to Google and one that I send to Facebook. But your LinkedIn profile, you just want to get the very best you that you can get out there. Yeah. Last question here. I'm sorry. Oh, well, maybe I can do both if Kathy walks away.
Go ahead, Charles. So I wanted to ask about, you were talking about not being a jack of all trades, but a master. There are so many jobs out there that are asking for jack of all trades. I mean, they want a functional person, they want a developer, and they want a technical person.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Especially in the U.S.
So how do you try to approach what it is they're specifically needing for that specific job to eliminate the clutter, the noise?
Don't be a jack.
Ask. Ask is what's most important.
No, I'm just saying, I mean, be very clear about all of the things that you are a master of. If you're a master of 10 or 15 different things, be very clear that you're a master at all of those things. Okay? And if they need all of those things, and you're a master at all of them, they're going to talk to you. Right? Does that make sense? But if it's something that you've dabbled in, it's not going to get you in the door. But if it's something that you've mastered,
Yeah, I'm just saying, they're looking for that purple squirrel that doesn't exist because they're asking for
yeah.
unreasonable requirements.
Purple unicorns. Last question right here.
I believe it was talking about dress, 1+, 2+ the company. Can you explain that a bit?
Yeah. Well, this is just my general rule, but if they say, oh, we're business casual here, and so you go through and you look up, what does business casual mean? Okay, and then what would that mean for me? Then what I'm going to wear is one level above business casual, if not two.